Hello, Links family. Jeffrey Cranford back with you. We're going to continue our walk through this study of faith and what it means to do anything by faith and what it means to, well, take a role in a cosmic restoration, project. I've been trying to kind of defend that kind of grandiose idea through Hebrews chapter 11, and I hope you'll see even more of that today. Now, Abraham by faith. Abraham by faith. I want to start here in verse 8. By faith, Abraham, when he was called, obeyed by going out to a place which he was to receive for an inheritance. Now, back to what we were talking about. What is? Well, it's the faith. That faith is the assurance of things hoped for. Faith is the conviction of things we can't see. So, God shows up into this area of the world in the Middle East, and here's a man coming out of this polytheistic culture, and God shows up and speaks to him and says, I'm going to make you a father of many nations, and he ends up taking off through this promise. Now, what was this? Was it a cell phone? Was it an email? No, was it, what could he really base any of this on? I heard from God. People are terrified of people when they talk about, I've heard from God. Because sometimes people say, I heard from God, and then they do something catastrophic, absolutely contrary to the very nature of God. And you go, well, that didn't have anything to do with it. Well, again, what Abraham has done is he has, and we're going to see the blood application to this next week, he unzips because he hears, and then he obeys. In other words, he walks through, and then he goes. He doesn't just stand there at the entrance. He goes. He begins to operate. His whole life becomes an operation in things that he can't see. An inheritance? What does that even mean? What does that involve? And you can go back and study this, in fact, in Genesis chapter 12 and get the initial promise of that. He's going to be a father of many nations, and in his seed, all the nations of the world are going to be blessed. I mean, this is incredible promises. But he went out not knowing where he was going. Welcome to the unseen realm. And he lived as an alien in the land of promise, as in a foreign land. So you got to realize when we're in the seen realm, we're foreigners here. We're foreigners. Don't try to get your roots too deeply set here, because your real reality is this unseen realm. And he lived in tents with Isaac and Jacob and fellow heirs of the same promise. He was looking for the city that has foundations. So now we get a little bit more about what his inheritance would be. He was going to be a father of many nations. In his seed, all the nations of the earth were going to be blessed. And he was also looking for a city that has foundations. Now that word foundations really speaks to something that has, that moves in perpetuity, something that endures forever, not just in a temporary way. We're going through a little restoration project in our home right now. We had some issues and some people stepped in, and we've just kind of got this whole thing going on right now. And okay, we're going to restore this thing. But I'll tell you, in another 10 years, we're going to have cracks in the tile. It's going to look a little outdated. It doesn't matter what we do, but not this restoration. This restoration is for all time. And that's so he's moving into the unseen realm. He's walking into a place that he can't see at all. And he's doing it by faith. By faith. What's Paul trying to get us? And then it goes ahead and speaks about Sarah. Even beyond the age to conceive, she somehow believed that God was going to do it. Was she perfect in that? No. At one point, she laughs at the promise. She's 90 years old. It's just, there's no way this is going to happen. Well, that's living in this world. But they lived in this world. Their brain was there. Their thoughts were there. They didn't see this realm as being something that was forever. They knew it was temporal. This city has foundations. Are you doing that in your life? Are you thinking maybe even about your Links Fellowship? See, a Links Fellowship is something that transcends. We're inviting people. We're not just having a Bible study. We're inviting people to get this thing unzipped, go through the blood of Christ, and begin to learn, to be discipled. I don't want them to wander around in the wilderness forever. There's a place. But I want all of us should desire, what is my role, again, in the Cosmic Restoration Project? We'll look at a few more over the next few weeks. And again, I just want this to be a starting point for you. Hopefully this will inspire some conversation in your fellowship or even in your own personal study. Go back and look at these things. And again, ask the question, well, how am I involved in this? What is my calling? What does God call me to do? And where have I gone in the unseen realm? Do you live more in the temporal and the seen, or do you find yourself more and more living over here? I hope you're beginning to transfer your allegiance into this realm and allow it to dictate the very activities of your life. We'll see you next week.